Let's push off with Focus on Health Law. Here, moderator attorney Ramesh Khurana of the Khurana Law Firm questions attorney Kenneth Haber on challenges for physicians and the healthcare system in the coming years. This is part 3 and the conclusion of the 3-part series of this question and answer session.
Welcome to the Capital Forum. This is Ramesh Khurana, attorney at law. I have my office in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I have a great privilege to welcome Kenneth Haber. Ken, welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Mr. Haber is the former assistant United States attorney and also a senior attorney in the Office of Inspector General. We are privileged to have him in our studios, and I am going to ask him questions about the challenges for physicians and healthcare system in the coming year. This is in fact part 2. I know you were kind to answer some of my questions relating to the subject in our last sessions. So today I am going to ask you, tell me in brief, what are the challenges?
The challenges for a small independent practitioner is going to be just enormous. They're confronting systems and institutions in reimbursement and in terms of rendering health care that are going to be staggering in the minds. The small independent practitioner is going to have to consolidate just like the rest of the landscape, just like everybody else is. The insurance companies are consolidating, the hospitals are consolidating into networks, and the practitioner has to somehow consolidate.
Just on the lines of acquisitions and mergers of companies.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
In the business sense.
That's correct.
So you have to think of ways and means to reduce your expenses.
Absolutely.
Right? Once you curtail your expenses, increase your income.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I understand, to put it simply.
To put it simply, in a non-simple area, yes.
I know, it's a non-simple area. I agree with you.
Well, you know, the thing is all these different institutions are getting so large. It used to be in the old days, and still sometimes, depending on the demography, a small practitioner can negotiate with insurance carriers for reimbursement. In rural areas, that's possible, especially if the small practitioner has a specialty that other healthcare practitioners don't have, say a neurologist or any other type of critical specialty person in a rural area, maybe that there's just a few of them at most have those skill sets in that area. And you know, the insurance carriers are expected to have people on their panels that will be able to render services for their insureds, and therefore gives them a little bit of negotiation space. But in the large cities, there are so many specialists, internists, their prices, their pay have been pushed down so much. There's anticipation it'll be pushed back higher now because of certain market changes, but it's been pushed back so low that it's difficult for them to stay in practice, although that may change. And the question becomes, how do they organize?
That's the point.
Well, one of the ways is that they can join, their practice can join what's called an MSO. Now, an MSO...
You mean medical service organization?
Yes, medical service organization. You know, sometimes it'll be called a medical service organization, sometimes it might be called a Medicare service organization. They might give different names to it, but basically what it is that there is a significant network of physicians that relate to a management, and sometimes called management service organization, where they get vital services negotiations through them, where they're able to relate to the information streams that they need to have trickle down on them so they know what they're doing, et cetera, processing their bills, and negotiating with insurance carriers, this medical service organization can provide that and help consolidate the independents into a larger system that they can make their way through it. They can hook up with Medicare accountable care organizations, which are large organizations that are independent doctors connected to hospitals. So the MSO can actually get connected to a hospital and become accountable care organization and have stream of incomes flowing out of that. The government pays certain rates to accountable care organizations, so there's a variety of things that can be done by the doctor through a medical service organization, a management service organization.
I know, Ken, you have given us a lot of information about MSOs. Now, can you briefly tell us what are the goals and objectives of MSOs? I know you told some of them.
Yeah. The major thing is that they're there and they're not doing it for charity's sake, they're getting paid. But they're there to provide the small doctors' offices with a voice, an organization that permits them to compete. There might be 100, 200, 500 doctors' offices, and each one can have anywhere from 1 to 10, 20, or 30 doctors in it. And by connecting up with the MSO, that makes them no longer a small entity that's dealing with these insurance companies and gives them an opportunity to try to negotiate and work with other large institutions. They can say to a hospital, hey, look, hospital, would like to associate with you because we're required to have a hospital associated with us if we want to establish accountable care organization, which is a Medicare mechanism that permits flow of income.
Okay. Now, I remember, Ken, in one of our sessions, we talked about PCMH, like patient-centered medical home.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Now, here we are talking about a medical service organization. Now, okay, what difference is between these kinds of setup? Of course, we are talking in terms of consolidation of medical services.
Well, the patient-centered medical homes are not, except in demonstrated situations and demonstration models, are not actually operating. They're supposed to be in the process of establishing between 2016, which is now, and 2019. So we're not certain exactly what they're going to look like. They were established by the Agency for whatever, healthcare. It's not CMS. It's not Medicare. It's the Agency for Healthcare Research, and it's one of their research ideas. They are the ones who sponsor the concept. That agency sponsors the concept of evidence-based medicine. So one of the thrusts that these homes is supposed to be is that they're supposed to be giving quality services in an organized fashion. Now, are these homes going to be 100 doctors' practices, 100 physicians in a practice, organized in this sense? Don't know. Can it be as few as 10 or 20? Don't know. I would imagine it would spread the gamut depending upon the demography of the area that's being served. And how is the income going to be flowing? Don't know, but I imagine that there's some sort of management organization there that's going to be taking a cut of the action to try to get the doctors their money. What it is, basically, is that there's going to be an internist as a point man, and he's going to then be directing the patients to the other specialists there that are going to serve the patient's needs. And are they going to cover all the needs? I doubt it, depending upon what specialties are available in the area. They might have to go out of the area, out of the home to get some of those specialties. Medicine is so specialized. But these are all right on the verge of the horizon.
Right.
And
the kind of drawing board stage.
drawing board
Yeah.
stage. Just like the ACO, Accountable Care Organization, just 5 years ago, people were scratching their head trying to understand what it's going to be. And there were a few around the country, across the country. Now there's more of them in actual existence, and indeed, big networks of hospitals and physicians may be choosing to set them up or not set them up, depending upon the reimbursement structure, because that's changing as we speak. Medicare was giving incentives before, and now they're trying to cut back on incentives. And they're trying to get the doctors to be more productive somehow. So it's,
Since they are not going to be paid in terms of the time spent on the patient, rather it will depend how they have treated that particular ailment of the patient.
Exactly. And the whole thing is that there's supposed to be more money going to the providers who are dealing with the sicker patients, but whether or not it trickles down to the doctors or not, time will tell.
Ken, you did talk about the ACOs. My question to you is, of course, these have been around for the last 5 years.
5, 10 years, some of them, in
Okay.
terms of
Okay.
some of the experimental models.
Right. Okay. Now, my question is it mandatory for a healthcare provider to participate in the ACOs?
No, it's certainly a voluntary type of thing. And they don't have to do that. The ACO has a payment and organization structure that's supposed to try to incentivize the doctors, but they're still getting money from the government, and the government's trying to cut back as best as they can. The ACO is a concept that there are so many doctors, maybe 5,000 doctors, 1,000 doctors, I don't really remember, involved in a hospital network where there's doctors' offices and the hospital. And they're supposed to be providing a hub around which services are to be rendered. And whether or not they're able to provide the needed services for the sicker patients, at the rates the government provides, don't know. I know that I'm buying Medicare on a fee-for-service basis, paying a little bit more, but I can go to whatever physician I want to go to, and same with my wife and my daughter being autistic.
Okay. Now, Ken, what are your final thoughts about PCMH? I know you gave us some information.
Yeah, I
because
think
this is the future model.
it's a future model, and I'm speculating, but I think that they're probably going to the government's going to try to get them to become large organizations, just like the ACOs, that they're trying to get them, or that they provide that they're large organizations. They have to have so many physicians involved. And it's certainly possible that it could be a successful model, especially in as much as they talk of evidence-based medicine. But the fact of the matter is that I'm always concerned about evidence-based medicine when it comes to the intrinsic capacity of a physician to use his intuition to diagnose and treat a patient. I get skeptical when they try to put a blanket evidence-based, because there's certain, man's mind in terms of structuring evidence is limited, and sometimes people don't even know why they're doing things, but they just know it's right. And sometimes those doctors out there just know it's right because they got 40 years experience, and they know this is right, and it is.
Great. The cameraman is showing that we have to wrap up now, and I must thank you for coming to our studio and answering our questions about ACOs and PCMHs. Now, of course, PCMH is a future model, but thank you for giving insights on that, and I appreciate your coming to us and talking about these topics which are of great significance.
I appreciate being here, and I would certainly strongly recommend that if anyone has any questions in this area, they contact a competent healthcare attorney who's familiar with these things that don't even exist now.
Thank you.
Thank you.